most of you know Roxanne Marino, the town supervisor here in the town of Ulysses, and Elizabeth Thomas. Elizabeth, yes. And everybody's
right. And also Lucia Tyler, who's on the town board, is here. Yeah, turn that off. I don't really want to take up very much time. Liz has a couple things she wants to tell you about in addition to just telling you what the town board is doing with regard to the trying to take action to prevent this sort of impact on our town. Because I'd like us to have more time to be able to ask the questions of these people who've put their time into traveling here. It's a resource for us. So stand up? Sure. Okay, so, and I'm here all the time, so you can always ask me questions, but they won't be, so I really think that would be a better use of most of the rest of our time. I did write out because I know a lot of people are very interested in what the town board's doing, where we're at with it. As you know, the town board received a petition signed by more than 1,000 people in the town, many of whom are here, I'm sure, requesting that the board take action to protect the health and well-being of the town residents by enacting a ban on slick water, horizontal hydrofracking, and other related heavy industry. And we've seen many, many reasons why this is of concern. It's strongly of concern to me, and I believe to all the other members of the town board, though I can't speak directly for them. We are pursuing that. We received a whole legal analysis with that presentation. Our attorney immediately was given it. She's working on it. We formed a group with 2 other towns in Tompkins County that are also working on this at the same. They have zoning in place as we do, which is a it's a strength for us because the challenge is that as Dr. Barth said, this absolutely should not go forward until there is proper planning and policies and environmental regulation. And the policies and planning are not in place now, in my personal opinion. And the state of New York has preempted some of the ability of local municipalities to enact land use planning. There's some question about the wording of that preemption, which is essentially what a legal challenge will be based on if a municipality does assert their local home rule authority on land use. So we're looking at that. We're looking at amendment to our zoning law to address this. 2 other towns in Tompkins County are doing a very similar sort of thing right now with a similar time frame, the town of Ithaca and the town of Dryden. We recently developed and signed a confidentiality and joint defense agreement with both of those. So we have a formal collaboration working on these amendments, and that's going on right now. This contract, I just want to let people know, doesn't commit the town to any funds in support of a lawsuit if one is filed with any of the parties signing the agreement. That would be a supplemental agreement if proceedings commenced. So our attorney's right now drafting a version of the zoning amendment that's tailored to the individual laws in our municipality. The other 2 towns are working on theirs. They've met a couple times. They're exchanging information and legal research. I think this is really fortunate that we have this going on because collectively the 3 of them have a substantial amount of experience in municipal land use and environmental law, and so we're benefiting from real efficiencies in time and money. And this work is proceeding steadily and as a highest priority. As soon as the town board receives an advanced draft, we will look at it and decide to move it to public hearing. That's one of the legal steps that we need to follow. We also have to turn it over to the county. Tompkins County has to do what's called a 239 review of the document. It's another step that we have to do. We're well aware of the concerns people have, and I'm sure you feel even more a pressing need to have whatever can possibly happen after tonight. And our goal is to make sure that we have something in place that's as solid and as likely to stand up to challenge and is as well considered and legally researched and solidly based as we possibly can. and we are well aware of the time frames. We're watching that closely, the time frames for the final SGICE, and we feel like we're confident that we're on track to bringing this to a final vote well in advance of the release of a final SGICE. And I've written up basically what we've been doing here, and I only have 30 copies, but you could get it from the website or from me or Liz. In addition, I think Liz handed out or had a paper here that listed all of the other things we're doing. As you heard, even if it doesn't happen in your town, it's going to happen in towns next to you, and it's going to impact your town. And we're fortunate in Tompkins County to have a very active coalition of people working on many aspects of this. The road issue is another one that Ulysses has been working very closely with others on, and we're making some progress towards legislation for that as well that I won't go into now. But I guess I'll just let Liz say a couple of other things, and then as I said, you can ask me a couple questions now, but I'm here all the time, and I think the value is to hear our speakers some more if we can.
And I just wanted to thank Back to Democracy because you do such a great thing bringing the venues or the topics right here to this local venue. It's great. And Concerned Citizens of Ulysses, without your help, I mean, it's very important that the work that you do to bring awareness to the residents. And I know that that makes, with all of you here, and I know you're just a portion of the concerned citizens that signed that petition, but your concern and your voices makes our job much easier because the path to this new legislation is quite clear. I mean, we hear you, and it's nice to have your backing because we are going up against the oil and gas industry. Might I remind you, it's big. So this is a big step that we're taking with this proposed legislation. There is a handout that was circling around. In the back table. It's a summary of actions that the town is taking, sort of a good faith. In case you're wondering if we're with it at all, we have been following this all along. I don't think we're those politicians that I don't think the oil and gas industry wants to line our pockets. They would like us to go away. But we have seen the problems that are documented in Pennsylvania and Wyoming and Arkansas and Louisiana, and we don't want that to happen here. So, look around the world, Quebec, France, South Africa, Australia, there's anti-fracking going on all around the world, so we're certainly not the only ones. Roxanne brought you up to date as much as we can on our legislation that's in the process, being written. They've finished doing their findings. It's great that these attorneys are working together. They add strength, but we did have a Tompkins County Council of Governments has a task force on gas drilling, and we did meet yesterday. And I thought I would just bring you up to date on a little bit on what's going on around the county. One thing to remember is that according to New York state law, municipalities cannot regulate gas drilling. So regulate is the word. We can't regulate the gas drilling if it's happening here. One thing little towns can do, or any town can do, any municipality can do, is that has land use, I should say. The county can't do this. But we can regulate land uses through zoning. So I guess maybe many of you have heard that the city of Buffalo was the first in our state to put a prohibition in place. And I think it was last week, the town of Otsego bravely went ahead and they adjusted their zoning to reinforce prohibition on heavy industry, which includes gas drilling. So the town of Otsego was the first town to jump. The city of Ithaca is, of course, our attorneys are working together. Herb Engman was speaking yesterday at this meeting, and is, I should say that each municipality has to look at what they have as their population, as their politics, as their laws on the books, in order to create legislation that'll work for them. So. In the town of Ithaca, they're going a fairly direct route and changing their zoning to prohibit gas drilling. In the town of Dryden, it's more complicated because they have active drilling going on there, and they have mining and such. So their legislation will be a little bit different than Ithaca, a little bit different than Ulysses. The town of Danby is taking a different approach yet and looking at a overlay district for aquifer protection. And then the towns of Caroline and Newfield, politics is what really is going on there. I mean, they're 5-member boards. 3 members are pro-drilling. So in Newfield and Caroline, there's no land use changes proposed at all. I might remind you that we're Ulysses in amongst many other communities here. There is a election this fall in Caroline and Newfield, and there's an election here in Ulysses too. These boards can certainly change. If you have any energy, I would say now is this year will be a good time to be involved in local politics, because we really can, as little local governments, make a difference. At the table at the Council of Governments Task Force, we don't have anybody from the towns of Lansing, Groton, or Enfield. There's the awareness. I know that there are citizens' action groups in those towns, but as far as the boards go, we're not seeing much action there. So, we may be buffered here, but we don't really know what's going on in other areas. So that's as much as I'm going to give you on an update, unless you have any other questions.
Have you talked to anybody from a town that doesn't have zoning and how they would approach it?
I know that the Slatchies are working with some towns that don't have zoning, and I don't know exactly what the strategy is for them, but certainly there are towns that don't have zoning that are interested in having some kind of land use regulation, but it's much, much tougher for them because they don't have anything on the books.
Well, I know Caroline was for a while considering an industrial site plan review law. They don't have zoning, Caroline, and they're doing a lot with the roads. They're farther along than we are with the road driveway permit and excavation laws and things like that. So I think that they're trying to do those sorts of things. The thinking is that just because of the way the preemption is written, having zoning, having a history of zoning, having a comprehensive plan, having all those that track record of building of your community's concerns for the environment and land use planning is definitely helpful. So we're fortunate. We've had zoning for 50 years here.
John?
I'm just wondering, do you think there's any possibility that the gas industry could get its activities redefined as not high industrial use? Is that a possibility?
Well, that's one proposed way to word your zoning ordinance, and that has all these triggers for what would qualify as it and would need to be out.
So you need to define that.
If that's the way that it ends up being worded, it would be a definition. That is a concern that some of the attorneys have, is that they're, then you every single little aspect of the definition has to be right, and it leaves openings for challenge, and so that's one of the things that they're really working on. As Liz says, Dryden might be leaning one way, Ithaca another. They're all talking about that. What's the most sort of the way to have it stand up the best?
The interesting thing about that particular scenario is we recently were participants in a hearing down in Wyalusing, Pennsylvania, who happens to have zoning, and the industry did come in, and they tried to come in under light industry, and it was a frac treatment plant, a drilling mud processing plant, and a asphalt plant, all on 123 acres. They considered themselves light industry, and they actually advertised it as a natural resource plant.
We made them define it.
We changed their tune by the end of the hearing, but they could have slid under the radar if people weren't looking at it, and we grouped together, and then they had to do a second hearing, and it became, what happened is they allowed one of the industries, the asphalt plant, but not the frac plant and not the processing plant. Then the contractor decided to pull out the whole thing then. So we were successful in getting it to go away.
Yeah, I was wondering about connections with other like Seneca County, because is there anything going on? As a Seneca County resident, I was wondering that.
I just went to a meeting on Tuesday night at Damiani Wineries. There must the name of the group is Gas Free Seneca, and you can reach them at gasfreeseneca.com. They're trying to stop the storage of liquid propane in the salt mines. There's a company out of Kansas City which has purchased U.S. salt, and they're going to be pumping out the brine into a 14-acre brine pit that's 3 football fields long and 2 wide, and pumping the gas in. The industry is saying that they're hoping that Watkins Glen will become the hub for the northeastern portion of the United States as a distribution center, and it's got them all really scared. So they're 25 feet above the surface of the lake, and Seneca Lake is already 5 to 6 times saltier than the rest of the Finger Lakes. So that's a frightening.
I was thinking of Seneca County, that's Seneca Lake, which is right, borders us on Cayuga Lake.
I don't.
Okay.
We'll see me afterwards about
Okay.
Seneca County, because this is
I
about
was
the
just wondering if
Ulysses
you were
area.
if the Ulysses Tab Board is.
There's a regional, through cooperative extension that all of the various task forces that are in the Marcellus region get together quarterly and share information. The planner that's been working for Tompkins County full time on this, that's funded through the Park Foundation, just went up to Rochester to talk to some various people in that region, which is really out of the Marcellus, but they're quite aware, and they were quite concerned, especially around the Penyan area. So there are pockets. Schuyler County has a pretty active task force too. So we're trying to connect together.